morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. It's Dr. Jan Portman with Relationship Matters TV. I hope everyone is having a gorgeous day. Well, we're here in Chicago and it started out gorgeous, but storms have been rolling in. But you know what? I love the storms, actually. I hope it rains and storms tonight because, unlike a lot of people I know, when it's thundering and lightning, I sleep so well. And once you get to be a certain age, sometimes you have a little hard time speaking. That's it. That's all I'm going to say about me. Oh, what happened? I just saw my guest leave. Which, see, she came back into the green room. I guess she just went out to get a little air. But I am so excited. I'm so excited. And I just can't hide it. Anyway, I have this wonderful young lady on today that I want you all to meet. All I'm going to say is when I grow up, I want to be just like her. Let me just show you something quickly about who she is. That's just a little teaser. I'm going to tell you a little bit more. Claudia Rocafort is a certified life coach, a communications coach, an executive coach. She loves to work with clients on mastering their public speaking skills, which is why I am trying to speak clearly and succinctly. And she helps them to develop conscious communication. And she helps them to clarify their mission, their goals, their vision, so they can magnify their confidence and maximize their message to do something extremely important, and that's to multiply their income. She is also an actor, a dancer, a voiceover coach, and a best-selling author. So I want to bring her on right now. Hello, Claudia.
It is such a pleasure to be here with you.
Oh, honey, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. And I am so excited that you are my guest, actually.
Thank you.
And wait a minute. Guess what? We have someone who came in and she's all the way from Scotland.
Beautiful. Oh,
Yes. She says, hello, Claudia.
Hello. I actually have a Scottish background. Pike Campbell.
Where?
From Scotland. I'm not sure exactly from where. I know that my grandmother's grandparents were Scottish, and last name Pike Campbell. So I don't think it's too much more Scottish than that. So I really want to look into my heritage and find out more.
Yeah, it is a small world. You just never know. She says, how amazing.
I love it.
And it's 1:00 in the morning there.
Oh, fabulous.
So, Margaret, I love you. I love you for coming in. But let's get on with Claudia. So now this is what I want to know. And I'm going to start here and then go elsewhere.
Sure.
Okay, I see you, and I want people to look for you. I see you in commercials, and I get so excited when I'm like, there's Claudia. And I know that you are an actor. What made you pursue a career in acting?
Oh my goodness, it's actually pretty existentialistic answer, because growing up, I wanted to be a dancer, and my mom was this tall, blonde, 5'11" Amazon type woman, And she's like, honey, there's not going to be a soul who'll be able to carry you gracefully on a ballet stage, right? You're going to be too tall and you need to have an education and you can't go be a dancer. I'm like, okay, well, if I'm not going to be a dancer, I'm going to be a doctor because I loved children and I loved healing. And my freshman year in college, I had a car accident.
Oh,
That was very, very tough and really changed the course of my life. And after long recovery, I was in a very existentialistic moment thinking, okay, what do I do? How do I find purpose? What's the meaning of all of it? I started pursuing spiritual searches and speaking to priests and psychologists and psychiatrists and going through the whole process of healing. And I thought, okay, what am I going to do? I don't want to wait 13 years before I can start practicing something I love, to be an obstetrician, pediatrician. And I took an acting class. And a friend of mine who passed away had just booked a role in a movie.
mm.
And I thought, my goodness, I need to try this. And it was a way to kind of connect with her and doing it in her honor. And I felt alive again. Dr. Jan, I was on that stage and it made me feel alive again.
Wow.
And it was like that passion that I had for dancing, that creativity, that I could become somebody else.
Oh.
Right? I could explore all the different facets of myself. And so that's how it came about. And I pursued acting and I was a full-time actress in New York for 17 years.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So was there someone else who influenced you other than, what happened to you? Was there any persons that influenced you?
So many actors who are fabulous, who inspired me since I was a child, plus my mother and my grandmother. My mother and my grandmother were born in New York. So I grew up with going to the theater and going to see Broadway shows and going to see off-Broadway shows between musicals. And there was a lot of culture and artistic culture in my family, and that I loved. And so that was my passion. I was thrilled. And I'd see actors, I mean, Meryl Streep, as far as I'm concerned, can become and do anything and anyone she wants to. She's unbelievable. And the capacity to really explore that human empathy and qualities and what makes us tick and why we are the way we are. To me, that was a fascinating search. And I thought, okay, maybe through acting, I can explore all of that in myself.
Oh my goodness. Oh, so becoming another person, is that hard?
Oh,
I
well,
mean, I hear actors say, I lost myself in that role. And then some of them, after the movie is over, they're still in that role. So it gets into your head and I guess your heart.
yeah. It does. And I think there's a lot of different philosophies on acting and ways to do it. There's method acting, and it's really about living the reality of the character to its absolute truth. And that can be incredibly intense. Some people are able to just imagine and become, momentarily the character. Some people live it. So it really depends on the methodology of the person. I think that my experience is that the roles that I've usually booked, the parts the auditions that I ended up getting, were the ones where I lost myself in the audition.
Oh.
Which is interesting because I forgot what I said. I forgot how I said it. I was just so present in the moment, in the reality that I was expressing or living in the scene. And those are the moments that you say, oh, wow, what did I just say? That was awesome. That was fun. It just felt so powerfully real.
Oh, wow. Is there a difference in being in a commercial versus being, in a movie or on TV? She's been on TV too, y'all.
Yes, definitely. Of course. Fortunately, the commercial world became my bread and butter. That was how I was able to stay and continue to build my craft and learn and get small parts. I haven't quite been able to fulfill my dream in acting because I really wanted to be able to get to a place where I could play um, my dream kind of roles. I mean, I auditioned for Lord of the Rings. I blew the bloody audition, but I did. But that kind of sci-fi, fantasy, fairies, elemental, good versus evil kind of magical world and realm, that is my dream. And period films.
Oh,
And
really?
I have an art history degree as well as a theater degree. And
Okay.
I always wanted to play something like, speaking of Scots, Outlander. Oh my God, it's my dream show. It's so fun and beautiful and brilliant and inspiring in so many ways. And the actors and the writing is phenomenal. So something like that, I haven't had a chance to yet. So,
But you will. But you will. I'm sure you will. And oops, let's see. We have another person that wanted to speak to you,
yeah.
and that's Maxine Walker. She says, "Hi, Claudia,"
Hi, Maxine.
and she's talking to Maxine and talking to Margaret. Hi, Margaret, you're up late again.
Yeah,
That's nice. And then Margaret, very vocal tonight. Good for you, Claudia.
thank you.
That's wonderful. And you know what? You are going to get that role. As a matter of fact, I'm putting it out there. You're going to star in it. You're going to be the star. Okay.
Amen.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So now people are texting me. Okay.
That's
Oh, okay. As an actor, this is a question.
mhm.
As an actor, you are given the script to follow, but how often are you able to go off script?
Mm.
And do you?
Sometimes. And that really depends on the writers and the director. There are directors that are very strict and need to stick to the script specifically. And then there are those who surprise you and actors who've been in the industry for years. I had the opportunity to work with somebody who was phenomenal. And he started ad-libbing in the middle of the scene and it totally took me aback. But then I realized, okay, time to jump in and continue. And it was so much fun. And at the end of the day, I've had a couple of times when that happened, and those were the scenes that got chosen because they were the most organic and natural and fun. And it does make a difference. So I always tend to ask if at all possible or if appropriate, either the other performers or ask the director once they have what they want in the can, kind of. And that's a reference from when film used to come in cans.
Okay.
Then can we do another one? Let's see what happens. Can we explore? Can we play with this? And a lot of times they'll say yes if they're not tight for time.
Okay.
That's when you want to really play with it. Or possibly in an audition, if you have something very unique and very specific that you want to bring to the character. And it can make you or break you.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
You're living my life, and I want to tell you why. When
Please.
I wanted to be a ballet dancer, and my mother told me the same thing. I was 5'9",
Yeah.
and
I'm right.
and I weighed when I weighed 97 pounds, and my mother told me, Janice, I don't think you can really be. Well, at that time, I said I wanted to be a ballerina,
Yeah.
and she said, I don't know that you could, you'd be able to do that. Maybe you should take piano lessons instead. Which of course I did, and I'm glad that I did. But I really wanted to be a ballerina.
Mhm.
And the other day I was at a Toastmasters meeting and I was telling everybody how I wanted to be an actor. And so, but you're living my
I love
life.
it. I love it. I love it. And we're the same height, you and I.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Because I met Claudia at a networking event. Well, and I would say it's called Women's Prosperity Network. And you women out there, you should look it up and join. But anyway, so that's how I met Claudia, and I just loved her personality and just love what she's doing. But this last question I want to ask you, then we're going to go on to second
Mhm.
something else. What are the biggest challenges in being in that entertainment
Hmm.
industry?
I think, the industry has changed so much over the last 30 years. I started back in 92. And so I've been at it for a while. Uh,
Okay.
I think then the hardest thing was there were minimal roles for somebody like me. So, and for a lot of people in the industry, meaning anybody of a different race or color, of foreign background, with an accent, Latino, African American, foreign, French, Italian, whatever it was, right? The main roles were rarely given to minorities. So I worked, because I was born in South America, I worked on getting rid of my accent.
Oh,
And I look, my dad's from Spain, and I tend to have more of a Mediterranean look than I've got the Latin flavor for sure.
okay.
and,
Okay.
and I've got the American mentality from my New York mom. But she also lived in Venezuela. And so I think it was tough and challenging to figure out where I fit in.
Okay.
That was hard. And the
Okay.
stereotypes of the world, of the Latino world at the time were, I wasn't dark enough, I wasn't light enough, I wasn't this enough or that enough.
Okay.
Didn't look Puerto Rican or Mexican. And that
Oh,
was the majority of the parts that were available at the time. So it was easier for me to kind of say, okay, forget that part of my heritage and just be my New Yorker self.
oh,
Got
wow.
rid of my accent and worked with one of the top speech coaches uh, to do that
Okay.
so that I could book parts.
Isn't that something? And now,
It's the
uh,
opposite.
yeah, right.
Now it's the opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can speak in your Spanish accent. As a matter of fact, the way things are now, you probably get more roles.
And ironically, I forget to put it on sometimes. They'll ask for a Latina role, and I'm like, I forget. I tend to have
Right.
more of a New York accent now than than a Hispanic accent, and
Right.
so it's I'm in that limbo sometimes of not Hispanic enough or not New York enough or not American enough, or there's something international about her, but we can't pin it. So it's interesting. I think that was definitely one of the most challenging things. And getting into the industry, there was always the fear of the casting couch, that old idea. So I made the mistake of not really socializing tremendously, not going to all the parties, not hanging out with all the producers because I was afraid. And I thought, okay, I don't want to end up in that situation. I want to be able to be taken seriously for my acting. And it's like, okay. Now I realize if anybody was going to hire two talented actors and they know one and they don't know the other, who are they going to hire? Right? They will
Yeah.
probably hire the one they know, which is why people network and why people build relationships. And it took me years to get that.
Yeah. But I can understand because we've all heard about the
Yeah.
casting couch. And Maxine says, I've heard of this before. So I can understand why you really, like you said, kind of stayed to yourself in a sense because you didn't want to get caught up in all of that. And then you
Exactly.
don't know. I think you made the best decision because I have a couple of friends who are, well, they say actors now, but actresses.
Mhm.
And what they were saying is that when they did do a lot of that partying and socializing, and then they said no to some things,
Yeah.
then they were kind of like blackballed,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yes.
So I think you did the right thing. You had to be you and your value.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
It was the right thing for me. The way that I went about it, it certainly didn't grow my career as quickly as I would have liked.
yeah,
And ultimately, there's a lot of things that I've learned with the years and with maturity and with self-confidence and with security, a lot of which you don't have when you've just graduated from college.
that's true.
You know?
That's true. Something okay, I had another text. Okay, another question.
Yeah.
Have you ever rubbed shoulders with any big stars?
Yes, I've been fortunate to meet some wonderful, amazing people in the industry. Um, I had the pleasure. I love Julia Roberts. I would have loved to have played her sister. Some people used to tease me for years, telling me that I had this big radiant smile, kind of like Julia Roberts, and I got to work with her
You
husband.
do. Oh, you really did. Okay.
And I got to work with her husband, and I met her, and she has the capacity to make you feel like you're the most important person in the room. There's
Really?
something magical about her. Absolutely charismatic. We even exchanged numbers, and I can't believe I lost her number. So I'm telling you, I mean, the crazy, silly things that happen in life, or the mistakes you make when you're very young. But just absolutely delightful. I remember another. This is kind of funny. I ended up at a lunch and a dinner actually, and I was invited by a relatively new friend, and Warren Beatty and Robert De Niro were there. And the
Mhm.
next thing I know, they're both sitting next to me having a conversation. And the photographer came over and wanted to take a picture. And Mr. Beatty, very gentlemanly, said, "Excuse me, I can't have you in the shot." Just to make certain that
And that
nobody would come
Denny
up with
baby.
any kind of assumptions.
Uh,
That was brilliant. And he was very, very to the point. But I was like, just for a moment, I was flabbergasted, and I realized, of course, I understand. Makes total sense.
right, right. So, Claudia, I got to take a quick commercial, and then we are going to go into your other career.
Yeah. Okay.
And so, isn't this exciting, people? I just love it. I'm living vicariously through Claudia.
I love it. Yeah.
So, we will be right back. Don't go anywhere because, we have so much more to talk about. All righty? Be back in 1 minute.
Five
I definitely want to see you at the Power of We Symposium. I will be doing the welcoming address to all of those kids. So I really want to see if you're in the Chicagoland area, fly in or fly in. But I would love to see you in October at the Power of We Symposium. Okay, let's get back to Claudia Rocafort. Let's see. Another comment came in. Let's see. Oh, okay. So I wanted to go to your coaching, but here Maxine asked a question. She says, "What roles are you getting now?" She said, "Most are getting mother roles, teachers, etc."
Exactly. That's precisely it. So for a while, because of my height, I think I would keep booking like model roles, and I felt it was very frustrating because I felt that I was kind of pegged into this stereotype, I suppose. And I wanted so much more. I wanted the drama. I wanted the the intense roles. And it's interesting. I think we get exactly. I fought my type for a while, and that was a mistake. Or I would book the femme fatale because I had this husky voice. And then I started booking more moms, of course, and particularly commercially. I always loved working with kids and teachers. And occasionally I get to play an FBI agent, which is what I'm going to get to play in my next movie.
Oh, wonderful.
So it should be
Wonderful.
fun.
Wonderful. Oh, so you got the part. Oh, that's wonderful, Claudia.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank
Oh,
you. Thank you.
we
Thank
just
you.
have to let us
Just a
know.
little part, but it keeps me working and it keeps me in the industry and I love it.
That's, oh my God, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Oh,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Well, when the movie comes out, you have to let us know so we can watch for you.
Thank you. Yes, yes, yes.
So now you're in the entertainment industry, you're an actor, you're a dancer. What made you decide? To me, it's like a total switch. What made you decide to become a coach, a life coach? You are a life coach, a communication coach, an executive coach. What made you decide to do that?
So I think, Dr. Jan, I have had some serious life challenges, I guess. And each one of those has prompted me to kind of dive deeper into something that would, I think, get me closer and closer to life purpose, to feeling very much on purpose. And I felt for years that acting was the ultimate dream. And I still love it. But I think I lost my brother on September 11th.
Oh, I'm sorry to
I
hear
was
that.
in New York at the time. And so it was a very challenging time. So again, that grief, like the accident I had when I was 18, threw me into a turmoil of emotions and pretty existentialistic ride for a while. I searched for a lot of self-help. I looked and delved into psychology and religion and all kinds of tools that would help me process this information and get through it. And it's pretty amazing how New York came together and how friends came together and how even clients gave me time and postponed shoots so that I could be a part of their commercial or their campaign because they had hired me and they knew what I was going through. So it was really spectacular to feel that kind of support. And by the same token, I was in despair. The grief was powerful and intense. And I wanted to understand. It felt like I needed more meaning. I
Mm.
needed more meaning in my life. And yes, I was very grateful to be a full-time working commercial actress, but I missed the gusto. I missed the heart and soul on some level. And about 3 years after that, a friend of mine said, I've got this friend. He's He's my coach. My company has paid for this amazing consultant and coach to come and work with us. And there's something about him. I think you'd really like him. And he lost his only son.
Mm.
And you can just imagine my heart just poured out to him. And I said, absolutely, I'd love to meet him. Well, he became my mentor. We became incredible friends. He taught me his method. He was a communication consultant and executive coach, and said to me, Claudia, I think you're an innate teacher, and I think you would love this. How about you let me give you one session and you tell me what you think? I said, okay. And sure enough, I dove into it head first, and we started working together shortly thereafter. He taught me his methodology. He had been an executive coach and communication consultant for over 30 years with Fortune 100 companies, top of the top.
Okay.
And had such amazing life stories, to the point where I think it was President Fitzgerald who would go have lunch with his father, and he'd get to sit at the table and listen to the conversations when he was a kid and understand how companies ran and how to grow businesses and how to expand visions, and such a beautiful, down-to-earth, emotional, empathetic man.
Mm-hmm.
And he is the one who inspired me. I'm very grateful he came into my life. I worked with him on his grief, and I worked with him and gave him all of the tools that I had learned over the years that I had pursued self-help books and guides like Deepak Chopra or Marianne Williamson in the Course of Miracles, and all of the work that I had done on myself in healing, and books like The Power of Now and Friendship with God. And I mean, I really was completely immersed for myself. And I brought this kind of to our clients, this holistic, spiritual, kind of quietly, sort of on the back end of it, approach, where he was the communication consultant and business guide. And I was able to bring all of my public speaking and comfort and techniques of being on stage to CEOs and CFOs and people, heads of departments who needed to create presentations or who needed to do sales mergers or sales and acquisitions. And all of a sudden, I found a new way to empower people with the tools of my acting background.
Wow. And that was the question I was going to ask, about bringing your experience
Mhm.
as an actor into your coaching
Yes,
business, because I know that you had to form relationships. You had to, I'm sure some of them you maintained, and some of the relationships you looked at and they were toxic, and it's like, okay, no, not that person or not that. And so I wondered about that, if you brought your acting experience or be in that entertainment industry into your coaching business.
definitely. And precisely at the beginning, it was what I could count on, what I could rely on, because I was not a certified coach yet. And then after the recession, and we lost most of our clients during the recession, there were very few companies who could afford to keep consultants or coaches, particularly high-end ones. And all of a sudden, I was jobless and had to start from zero. I went from a six-figure income to being a single mom with a baby and no way to find a job. And it was really challenging. And the commercial work was fewer and farther between. And I had moved to Miami so that Alex could grow up with his family, his father's side of the family as well. So it was a bumpy ride. And what I could bank on was that communication consulting, that acting background, and continued doing the commercial acting. It didn't dawn on me until a few years afterwards. I went through real estate and staging and interior design and looking for jobs all over the place and selling television advertising and all kinds of different things to find my way here until I said, wait a second. I loved coaching, and I felt that I could provide serious value. Let me get certified. Let me get the credentials. Let me feel that I've got this under my belt. And so I did that. I pursued it. I got my credentials. And then when COVID hit, I found myself again without a job, coaching via Zoom, which was the only way to really be able to get out and continue. And I ended up doing 2 certifications. So I did approximately 350 hours of coaching and helping other coaches become coaches. And
Okay.
I said, okay, this is really what I love. And how I started to integrate the acting with it is empowering entrepreneurs, and particularly female entrepreneurs, women, to own their voice, own their message, right? Be able to shift from either their previous jobs in corporate or workforce into a vision and a mission and build their own businesses, or empower them to, with tools, to feel confident to bring out their message. So much of our world now, especially since the pandemic, happens on screen. This screen, every screen, right? Zoom and TikToks and Facebook Lives and Instagram videos. So many people are providing content, and now getting to speak publicly comfortably is essential for your success.
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true. So how do you get women, especially there are a lot of women who are in corporate America that want to leave and they have a vision,
Yeah,
but they have that imposter syndrome.
exactly.
How do you get them out of there? Because you know what, and I'm asking that
Mhm.
because sometimes I suffer from that. You I'm
Oh yeah, I
so
think
happy that you said raise your
ditto. Me too. Oh my goodness.
How do you get women, to just say, you know what? What's that Beyonce song? You must don't know about me. How do you get women in your coaching to overcome that imposter syndrome?
There's a few techniques and there's a few ideas, and I think more often than not, the key is to help them find and own their worth. When people realize what their knowledge and experience is worth, then they can begin to let go of the imposter syndrome. That's my perspective. It's also my experience.
Okay.
Because even though I had coached multi-billion-dollar CEOs and CFOs for 3.5 years with Edmond in New York, the fact that I didn't have a little title that said I was a certified coach made me feel that I couldn't go out and get a job as a coach. And I remember the first time when I got the first lead to an independent film, the female lead, because I wasn't the lead of the film, but the female lead in an
Okay.
independent film at the beginning of my career. Like, I remember I had a full-on breakdown, and I wrote this ridiculous letter to my agent, like, whoever said I was an actress?
Oh my goodness.
So, full-on imposter syndrome breakdown. I mean, if that letter ever surfaced, I think I'd be the most embarrassed human being on the planet. There's actual proof somewhere of my full-on meltdown.
Oh my goodness.
So I was the master of act as if, right? That acting ability, I would put on the persona. I would act tough.
Because not you.
It's like, become the peacock. I can do
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
And it wasn't real. It was just a put on facade to feel strong, to feel okay, to feel less vulnerable, less insecure. So when I started to realize that a coach, one of my coaches, said something to me that I thought was amazing. He said, Claudia, how much do you think that your life experience is worth?
Oh.
I was like, oh, okay. And I thought, wow, I'm not sure. Like I was kind of, deer in the headlights. And he said, if I give you $1 million, would you give me all your knowledge? I'm like, no, I don't think so.
Right.
No. If I stop to look at my education and travels and grief and overcoming and pivoting and different careers and life challenges, if I had to do all of that again, I don't think you could give me $10 million and I take it, So it was a life shifting concept to say, what has everything I've lived through, if I had to quantify it, what is it worth?
Wow. Wow.
And that is what I can provide for somebody.
Wow.
So I would say to anybody suffering from imposter syndrome, look at everything you have learned, everything you have experienced, everything you have overcome, the good, the bad, the pretty, the ugly, the challenges, the difficulties, right? How you've learned to handle them with grace, or how you're a little better than you were last time. And everything that has gotten you to be who you are, there's hundreds of people that can benefit from that knowledge. And
Girl, you giving me chills. My goodness. Yes. Yes. Yes.
yeah.
Oh my. So Gwendolyn Dunbar says, I admire your drive and open-mindedness. Keep up the good work. And Margaret, she had put in here, was there a time in your life that you felt like giving up? What did you do
Oh
to
yeah.
move on? And she said, you just answered my question.
Whew.
That is, yeah. Oh my goodness. I'm going to play this again and I'm going to write that, type, type it up in huge letters and put it right up here above me.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Claudia.
I
You just
was,
let,
this is
let,
not something I think I've ever mentioned publicly. And I'm going to share it because the question is a powerful one. And I saw somebody 2-3 days ago that really inspired me. It's a young woman who tried to commit suicide, and now she's on a mission of sharing her experience. She's in her 20s, in a wheelchair, and speaking up against and really helping young girls, particularly teenagers, to ask for help and ask for support if they ever feel that way. I felt that way several times in my life. And I was very young. I was 18 when the accident happened. I was driving and my best friend passed away. My
oh,
friend.
I'm sorry.
And I don't talk about this publicly. It's probably the second time I ever have. I'm starting to tell that story because it's a very tough story. But it's also what I think has gotten me to the place where I'm at, where I want it to be of service to others, where I don't talk about it out of any other reason than you can survive, you can overcome, you can find meaning and purpose in your life again. And there's nothing worth taking your life over.
And oh my
And
goodness.
I certainly was there. And it was through help and looking for a psychiatrist who, thank God, became my lifeline. The spiritual search and my spiritual readings and my spiritual beliefs that eventually became my lifeline. And family, friends, the family you choose, the friends who become your sisters and brothers, the people who will hold you up and will be there for the good and the bad, those are the ones that you rely on. And I was ashamed, and I didn't know how to talk about it at the time. Now I want to really raise a voice to say there are ways, and I'm here to support anybody who ever needs to and is ever in that process of grief or self-doubt or feels depression. Many times it's as simple as a chemical imbalance. Sometimes there are things that are happening in your life, but a chemical imbalance will get you to that point of depression where you don't think that, and it's less that people want to end their lives, and it's more that they want to end the pain.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's so many, there's research out in that there's so many young women
Exactly.
who, you know, the suicide rate has climbed so. And, you know, the work that you're doing, and even for, you know, mature women,
Mm-hmm.
they
Yeah.
can get to that
Oh,
point,
yeah.
you know, they can.
Oh, one of the worst moments of depression for me was when my hormones started to change. So it's daunting, and it can take you by surprise. And we should not be ashamed to say, I need help.
Yes. And you know what,
I need,
Claudia,
yeah.
that's something in my culture is hard for people to do. You
Yeah.
know, I think we're coming out of it now,
Yeah.
but it you know, it's like, oh no, that makes you weak. Oh no, you cannot say that, you know. Uh, and it's whispered,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But Claudia, what I want to do is I want people to know how they can get in contact with you, you know, because
Absolutely.
what you do is just so valuable, just for people in their personal lives and in their professional lives. What you're doing is so invaluable. So, how can people avail themselves
Yes.
of your knowledge, your expertise, and your services?
Mhm. Well, thank you for asking, Dr. Jan. I wanted to put something in the chat so that people can see it, and
Okay.
it's a gift. And it's a little opt-in where if you give me your name and your email, you'll receive this gift. And it's a gift on conscious communication, because so much of the challenges that we experience in life come from that inner radio that we have that's not always very kind. Those insecurities, that imposter syndrome, that not feeling good enough, the beliefs that we took on sometimes as a child that we haven't been able to heal. And 70, there are studies that prove that 72% of corporate mistakes happen because of miscommunication. 72%. And of divorces, 68% of those divorces are happening because of miscommunication. So to me, I am passionate about how we communicate and creating conscious conversations, creating conscious communication, and starting with, how do I speak to myself? What's that radio that I have internally saying, where are these beliefs coming from? How do I clear what's not supporting me anymore and empower myself as the adult woman and nurture my inner child? Right? And so that gift I want to share with everybody. And I'm very old school. I love a text. The best way to reach me is text or schedule a strategic call with me or a discovery call with me. So you can find me at calendly.com/Claudia Rocafort, and you can book that with me, or text my work number, which is 786-876-8004. And we can find a time that works and talk about, I will give you, consultation, and we can determine whether we're a right fit to work together, whether it's business, whether it's personal or whether it's holistic, and all of the above.
Oh my goodness gracious, I need to work with you.
I love that.
And you're so right. I was reading your gift, and I thought, oh wait, I'm gonna put it back up there. Uh Now people, you could see it, right?
I can see it in the chat that we started.
But I mean, when I put the gift up there,
Uh-huh.
can you see it?
I can't see it on the screen in terms of
Okay.
like on the stream, but I
Yeah,
can
put
see it
it
on
on
the chat.
the screen.
How
I
does
put
that
it in
work?
the chat. Yeah, but what
Okay.
I will do, let me see. So I have a comment if somebody says, oh, Margaret says, I will be reaching out most certainly.
Love it, Margaret. I look forward to it.
And then Gwen says, oh, yes, I believe that people need to learn to listen and respond respectively. This will improve so many people's conversations. And that is so true. So, what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to share this. It's in the chat, but because it's in the private chat,
Oh,
I can't put it on the screen.
Dr. Jen, what if you put it if you type it into like the Calendly? So,
Okay.
or I can tell people actually how to get to it.
Yeah.
Quite simple. www.
Okay, hold on. And I'm going to add it to here.
Yes.
So, yeah. So let go ahead.
Claudia Rocafort Coaching /NVC dash model.
I don't type that fast. www. www. I don't
Claudia
know. Claudia Rocafort Coaching slash.
coaching.com. Sorry. Claudia
Oh,
Rocafort Coaching.com. So my website
.com
/NVC
C
dash model.
dash model.
And that stands for the nonviolent communication model, which was a model developed that is brilliant and that is the easiest way I've found so far to shift the conversation, particularly in relationships,
Okay.
to be able to, we're not taught how to really listen
True.
and how to really communicate. More often when we're in any kind of conflict, we're already thinking what we're going to say before we really listen and try to put ourselves in the shoes of the person who's sharing what
We
they're feeling
listen to
or what they're
respond.
believing,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And because I came from a household where that was very prevalent, this has been a very passionate mission for me to really listen to that inner dialogue, that imposter syndrome, that feeling worthy, that finding purpose in my life, and dealing with letting go of all the grief and all of the things that made me feel not good enough. So I'm on a mission to shift that for people and to shift that, if at all possible, in companies. I mean, conscious leadership. There's so much that can be done in schools. There's so much that can be done to empower women. So this is my passion and my mission. And I want women to feel empowered with tools that they can use practically. And the nonviolent communication model is one of those where you simply speak about what you observe without blaming. So we tend to blame, we tend to justify, or we tend to fall victim of communication. In this model, we want to cut that. And it takes a lot of practice and understanding how we fall into those patterns. But to make it very simple, it gives you a model of how to follow, say what's happened, how you feel, and ask for a request without attachment and expectation, without blame.
Wonderful. Claudia, you're doing such wonderful work. I want to give you my heart, celebrating you because you make a difference.
Oh,
Thank you so much for just giving us so much value. And you have been so inspirational and motivational to me.
thank you. Thank you for
You
having
once a week. Wow.
I've been wanting to have this conversation with you for a long time, so I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you for
Thank you
for me.
so much, Claudia. I really appreciate you being a guest. And um, I just want you to continue to be a blessing to people.
Mm.
And I will see you Monday.
Yes, at the Women's Prosperity Network.
Yes, at the Women's Prosperity Network. I got one more comment here. And Claudia says, thank you so much. No, Margaret says, thank you so much, Claudia and Dr. Janice. And thank you, Margaret. Go to bed.
Yes, it's right.
All right. Thank you so much again, Claudia.
Have a wonderful rest of your evening or day or morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Dr. Jan.
All righty. Bye bye. Oh, wow. This has been amazing. I am motivated and inspired. And gosh, she is an awesome, 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 awesome person. Awesome person. So, let's see. We only got a minute to go. Margaret says, bless you. And John Lewis says, nice. All righty. So I will see you again next week. And guess what? Next week is my show, the Thursday right before Mother's Day. And guess who's going to be on? Talking about the relationship with mothers and daughters. Margaret Lance. She's going to be coming all the way from Scotland. And I will have another awesome mother on with her daughter. And she told me if anyone wants to know how to successfully raise a daughter, they need to talk to me. So I'm going to have her on the show next Thursday. I want you to continue to watch Relationship Matters, and I want you to remember there are all kinds of relationships, all kinds of relationship matters. Life is all about relationships. So I will see you again next Thursday on Relationship Matters TV. See you next week. Bye bye.